Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan, and I am back for the PDPL Week 2 breakdown. I apologize for the delay in it this week. It's been pretty busy at work, but without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown. Match 1, we had Solenoid versus Snoot. So this was a really interesting set where Snoot tried to leverage the chip damage from Max Blastoise with Wakan very early, but I don't know. Without the setup on the Blastoise, the fact that Wakan could just get broken by a Volt Switch, and then late game Regieleki felt really good, and then he also had the Ferrothorn, which functionally walled a lot of what the Blastoise was doing. The Max Blastoise early felt a little suboptimal, but Solenoid did play very well to, again, capitalize on some late game maxing and max capabilities as well. So I do think overall that I'm not a huge fan of the way that Snoot went into this game plan-wise, but I do think that Solenoid did execute the plan very well, and getting the Volt Switch to break the Wakan Berry, really, really huge for him. The second match we're going to talk about is me versus Gumi. Weird set with weird calcs. I'm dumb. Gengar doesn't have Levitate anymore. The calculator I'm using is also dumb because it had Levitate as the default ability for Gengar. So there's just dumbness all around. But Specs Gengar, speaking of it, was, a phenomenal bring for Gumi. It went really well into the team. I wasn't able to identify it because I thought it could have just been a modest high roll onto the Wishy-Washy when it was in fact Specs. So that really affected the end game of Game 3, where I thought that I had a clear win, but he ended up pulling it out. So really good prep and play by Gumi in that regard. But speaking of his prep, I called out Scarf Weezing before the game began, and I think this means that Gumi is so consistently unpredictable that he's becoming predictable. So Gumi, you may need to adjust that moving forward, because your unpredictability is now, in fact, predictable. Goomba versus Otto. The Decidueye set for Otto was phenomenal this week, and it worked really well into a lot of what Goomba brought, especially since the Corviknight didn't have Mirror Armor, which is just, I don't know. It was an interesting call, assuming that the Mirror Armor would be assumed. I guess that's the way to say it, and then Corviknight would functionally get the ability Unnerve, and then no one would have, Otto wouldn't bring stuff to reduce the stats of the Corviknight, but the fact that it wasn't Mirror Armor really hurt Goomer this game and may have cost him at least one game in this set. And I don't know, it just felt like there was a difference in the level of offensive output, probably because, again, of the neutering ability of a lot of what that Decidueye was doing. But it felt like each turn, even unencumbered, Otto was just doing more into Goomer's team than Goomer was into Otto. And I think that has a bit to do with prep and also into the Mons brought, but Tornadus T can be a bit of a monster at times. So this was a really, really great set. But Otto was able to pull this one out again with the Tornadus T and just the offensive pressure. Then we have Tay and Charles. So Kang always gets crit. Act accordingly. If your out is to crit the Kangaskhan, assume it will happen. Just aim for the Kangaskhan with crit heavy moves. It'll work. But in all seriousness, Swampert as a max option lined up really well into Charles' team, and I thought whenever I saw that Swampert max that it was a really good call. But on Charles' end, I don't know, every time he's brought the Raichu, it's felt underwhelming. I know it's just through 2 weeks at this point that I'm talking about, but he should really consider, in my estimation, Thievul over Raichu into a lot of these matchups, because Thievul's support ability works really well with a lot of what his team's doing with that sort of hyper-offensive style when Raichu isn't necessarily always going to be the best. And I'm also not 100% sold on Appleton as a late game option. I understand where you were coming from with it in this set, but against potential multi-scale Dragonite and other options similar to that, I'm not sure I 100% believe in it. But I'm willing to see it in future weeks, and I do think it has the chance to go well, but I think Tay adjusted very well in this set, and he just, I think, had slightly better prep this week as well. Cortex Sakimoto. So instead of going point by point through this match, I just want to say what the major takeaway about Cortex team is. On paper, it seems really easy to prep against, right? Because he's got functionally 6 really, really good Mons, but they're all fairly linear, and the rest of his team isn't likely to come any given week. So you think you can out-prep him. But you better execute that out-prep and execute early game to get that advantage, because if there's a late-game advantage and it's, Moltres on the field versus Golduck in about an even position, Moltres is just a better Pokemon. Like, a lot of his Pokemon are just better. So you need to leverage what advantage you think you can get in prep because of his team's linearity, and if you don't do that early game, you're going to really, really struggle against him late game, and I think that was sort of the takeaway from this set. And then our set of the week.
He's like, Ryan's going to max this Pult. No, my Pikachu is coming out with a vengeance, boy.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It's weird you go for a lead like this. What the fuck?
Thank you guys so much for watching. I know that I went through this video rather quickly today, but it's also late in the week, and I didn't want to waste anyone's time with too much of a recap when Week 3 is almost already done as well. I'll try to get the Week 3 one out a lot quicker, but as always, if you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you're interested in following the Premier League, please join the Discord server, which is linked in the description below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.